Last night's episode of Real Housewives New Jersey was a lot. I'm going to have to get more in detail on the entire episode on Patreon, but let's focus just on Teresa's housewarming party. Before we talk about that, though, I do want to touch briefly on the conversation between Joe and Teresa. I know that all of the Teresa haters and the Melissa and Joe stans are going to come and say, well, she couldn't even have a conversation without Louis writing notes down. If you notice, and this is truly heartbreaking to watch, if you notice, neither of them know how to effectively communicate with one another. It's very short. There's not a whole lot of depth happening. I truly do feel like Louis in that moment was just trying to say like, here, stay on track. This is how we communicate. But on both sides, it's really heartbreaking. Now, Joe chose not to go to the party. And I firmly believe that if it wasn't for a paycheck, if it wasn't for a contract, that Melissa wouldn't be there either. Even though later in the episode, she's like, I'm here just to try to make peace. No, you're not. You're there because you have to be. There are a lot of people that have come forward in my comment section saying that the kids need to stay out of it, that Gia needs to keep her mouth shut. Do you notice that even though these girls are upset about what Melissa and Joe said on the podcast, they kept it cool? Gia and Gabby kept it calm, cool, and collected for probably one of the most uncomfortable conversations that I've ever seen on the entire series. And it was probably an opportunity where Melissa could have reached out, made an apology, had a discussion, but crickets. Teresa's comment about chosen family. Cringy, absolutely. But Joe was chosen. Joe was invited. Melissa was invited. Joe is the reason that he was not there. And who is the one here stirring the pot? Once again, Margaret. Margaret, once again, get your pink cast out of everyone's business. She runs in while Jackie and Jen are having a moment together. She runs in like, don't you remember what she said? Don't you remember what you said? Why aren't you mad at her? To start a fight. Now, Jennifer Aydin, when she gets backed in a quarter, goes on full attack. She always has. And she doesn't hold back. Name calling, every nasty thing that she can pull out. However, I do believe that Rachel has a terrible nose job. Every nasty little thing that she can pull out, she is going to. Doesn't make it okay? No. But she's a very defensive person in that aspect. And we watched it every single time, every single episode this season. This episode was just wild. And there are so many little one-offs that I'm going to get deeper into it on Patreon. But what did you think of the episode? Let's talk about it. Let's air it all out.